Corey Brada here from the Hawkeye of the Storm, joined by this guy who's next to me for now. How about that?
Yeah.
Coach Gary Close is here as we recap.
Shoulder to shoulder.
Yep, shoulder to shoulder. And we wish we had better news to report on this Sunday as Iowa falls to the Nebraska Cornhuskers 81-77. And Gary, you and I were chatting as the music was starting this show. Lack of perimeter defense killed Iowa today. Not the way you want to head into postseason play.
No, not at all. I mean, the Nebraska came out firing and got a lot of confidence, and we never could really get their three-point shooting under control. And you score 77 points at home, you should win that game. But when you give up 80, you run the risk of not, and that's exactly what happened. So give Nebraska credit. They're a big story in this league this year. I mean, what they've done with what they've lost is really a tribute to Coach Hoiberg and their team. They battled, and they had some chances to go away, and they just wouldn't do it.
I'll say this, couple of compliments for Fred Hoiberg. And as much as I wanted to see Iowa win this game, especially on senior day, kind of happy for Fred because you and I both talked about him earlier in the year, potentially this being his last chance to turn things around. I don't see any way Nebraska gets rid of him at this point with this surge they've had late in the season. They're probably an NIT team right now.
I think they're a hot NIT. Yeah, I think NIT would love to have them with their fans and the way they're playing. Absolutely.
And I tell you, the Iowa press, which has been effective against a lot of teams this year, despite Iowa's defensive struggles in the half court, I thought for most of the year the Iowa press has been pretty good. Nebraska had no issues breaking that today. What does Fred Hoiberg do so well? How does he teach his players so well to break that full court press?
Well, they're a really good passing team, both in the half court as well as the full court. And so they beat it primarily with good, sharp passing and advancing the ball and attacking before Iowa could get back and get their defense set. So they were well schooled on expecting it to happen and executed very well.
All right, folks, what we're going to do here, we don't have the actual phone number line open, but we do have our StreamYard line, our Iowa Smokehouse StreamYard call-in line. So we've got a couple people waiting to jump on with us. As you can see up in the upper right corner of your screen, I want to extend appreciation to Iowa Floor Covering. If you're undergoing a project in your home, be sure to check out Iowa Floor Covering. They're down in the Bondurant, Central Iowa area, and they'll get you great rates on flooring and great options. And then also, of course, Iowa Smokehouse. We've talked about them at length, and their snacks are just fantastic. They've, of course, got their jerky, their meat sticks, and as you can see, and with our logo here, you get 15% off by using this code Hawkeye at checkout. 15% off by using the code Hawkeye at checkout with iowasmokehouse.com. And if you get a $50 or more order, you'll get free shipping. So great deal. Load up on the beef now and have it ready for March Madness. And of course, we also want to thank Brad Van Meter and his team down at State Farm in Des Moines. Get a quote on great insurance rates, auto, renters, whatever the case may be. Call him at 515-256-6480, 515-256-6480, or online at bradvanmeter.com. Visit him in person at 4229 Fleur Drive in Des Moines. Appreciate Brad sponsoring the show throughout the season. All right, I believe we've got a couple of callers here waiting to hop on with us. Let's see if we can get, I want to make sure we can hear our callers. Get the volume up here, Gary.
Sure.
Is that the volume, or what am I hitting here?
Right.
I think I booted us out.
You're trying to steal my money is what you're trying to do.
All right, let's try to work this out here.
How's that?
Okay.
Now we got to get back to that.
We're working on getting the video feedback. I apologize, folks. There we go. All right, I apologize for that. All right, let's go to, we've got, I believe, James waiting on the phone line here.
Can you hear
James,
me?
I can hear you, James. How are you?
Cool. Good. I was just checking to make sure you can hear me first. First off, I understand it's a tough loss, and the losses are always tough, especially one like this, but there's still a chance at a double bye, so we can't sit here and cry. I guess we'll be Rutgers fans for the night.
Yeah, they will be Rutgers fans for the night, and Gary, that's my understanding. I'm not a guy who follows the tie-break scenario, especially when you have like 8 teams at the top competing for 2-3 spots.
Iowa has all the tiebreakers except for Michigan State has a better win percentage because their game against Northwestern got canceled, so they'll be above us. And then Indiana and Michigan play each other, and Iowa's a tiebreaker over both of those. So whoever loses will fall behind Iowa. So
Yeah, so Iowa needs Rutgers to beat Northwestern. That's basically the
Yeah.
only pathway to a double bye. And
Yeah.
if that doesn't happen, Gary, they've got no one to blame but themselves, because this is a game that Iowa, you're playing at home against regardless of the improvement Nebraska has made, and they have been better as the season has wore on, this is a game that Iowa absolutely should have had. But with that being said, we think back to last year, Iowa went to the Big Ten tournament and won 4 straight games. So it's not unheard of to go and play Thursday and win on Sunday.
No, and that's where you got to kind of look at it. You got to learn what you're going to learn, and then you got to put it behind you and get ready for March Madness. So, if they go on a streak at the Big Ten tournament, then we probably won't remember this game quite as long. But it's going to sting a little bit because you don't want to finish your home season on senior night losing. It's not fun.
Anything else, James?
For sure. Another thing I was thinking too is I'm glad we got the Indiana win and the Michigan State win, because I think they put us in the tournament no matter what happened here. So this loss doesn't kill our tournament chances for the NCAA, and I think that's probably the biggest thing that you take away from it. I guess you lost a game, but you're not going to win every game. That's the way you look at it. But since you beat Indiana and you beat Michigan State, I think you're in, and I think that helps you. That helps a loss like this not hurt a little bit as much, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I appreciate that, James. And he's right. I mean, they're in safely. However, I think we'd be foolish to say that this doesn't affect their resume. It's a quad 3 loss, right? This is, again, a home loss at the end of the year, too. So the committee may look at Eastern Illinois back in December differently, or certainly Wisconsin at home in December, but this is Nebraska at home in March.
Yeah.
So that does affect you differently, Gary.
Yeah, no doubt. It'll probably knock them down a peg or two, but nothing you can do about it. Now you gotta move on.
Let's talk about, before we get to our next caller here on our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line, let's talk briefly about the perimeter defense, or lack thereof. I mean, I don't think many people would have expected Nebraska to make 14 threes. They shot 54% behind the arc and 59% as a team. Iowa, I think it evened up in the second half, but for the most part, Iowa controlled the glass, 39-36 for the game. They really played well on the glass in the first half. But the lack of perimeter defense, how does that happen against a team like Nebraska this late in the season?
Yeah, that's a good question. I just think they weren't sharp. They fell asleep and got too far off people. And Nebraska's a good passing team. You got to be ready to close out. They were slow with that. They went under a couple screens. Got some offensive rebounds that they kicked out for 3, and so it was kind of a total breakdown from the perimeter, and a bit discouraging because you're hoping they're fixing that as you get late in the year, but it rose up and bit them today. And we've always talked about the 3 can be the great equalizer, and today it was. In fact, it was the difference. You shoot that well from 3. Points per possession, they're probably well over 1.5 from 3, and that'll get you beat.
And I apologize that rebounding numbers were not as lopsided as I thought they would be in that first half, 18-16 in favor of Iowa. I did feel like with the clip Nebraska was shooting at, Iowa just got a lot of extra possessions on the offensive glass, and I thought did really good work there on that end. Patrick got hot early, made 5 threes early, and then he kind of disappeared as the game went on. I know I was expressing this pregame. This is the first time we've seen Tony Perkins really roll for 2 straight games. He struggled for the game, Tony Perkins, today with just 6 points on 3 of 6 shooting, 4 boards. So the consistency there is still a question mark. What do you take away from Iowa's offensive performance? I thought Iowa got stagnated late as well.
A little bit, but 77 should be enough to win the game.
Yeah.
They lost the game on the defensive end. I don't think there's any doubt. They're not going to get a lot of rebounds, defensive rebounds, because the ball's going in the basket too much, and that'll cut down on your defensive rebounds. So there's no question that the defensive end, especially the perimeter defense, has really hurt them. In fact, Nebraska shot well from everywhere, and not only 3, but even from 2, they were probably well over 60% because they finished shooting almost 60% from the field with everything. So not a great defensive effort.
Can you talk a little bit more about Hoiberg? I mean, I know you you coached against him, right?
Yep.
I mean, he's had his back against the wall. Maybe you could draw some parallels to what Chris Collins has done this year, not to the extent that Collins has done it at Northwestern, but again, coaching maybe with your back up against the wall and a young coach who's got a promising career ahead of him. Just your thoughts on the improvement you've seen from this Nebraska team that we saw in December to this one today in March?
Well, when they lost those 2 starters, I thought their season was over. I mean, I just didn't think there was any way, the quality of this league, that they were going to be able to withstand that. And they've gotten better. They're pretty solid at both ends of the court, and they've got some guys that have really come on and improved through the course of the year. Tominaga and Gristle's a really good, strong player, and Walker's getting better. So they're impressive. I think they've deserved what they've got, and Fred deserves an awful lot of credit for that. That team could have easily given the year up, and in fact, it was the exact opposite. They got better and better as the year went on.
What did you think of Iowa's defense on Keisei Tominaga early?
Not good. I mean, he got rolling, and got some baskets early. It did a little bit better as the game went on him, but if it wasn't him, it was somebody else knocking threes down, and just too many open threes. It's one thing if they make tough shots. Most of those threes were not tough. They were pretty much wide open. And then the problem is you start making some, all of a sudden you're a better shooter than you really are.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of confidence, and you get some rhythm, and Iowa could never get them out of that rhythm. And every time they needed a big three, they pretty much got it.
And Tominaga, he's a tough cover. I mean, let's not totally discount him. He is, as you said, he has improved. He's obviously a really good three-point shooter, but he can finish around the rim. You wouldn't think so when you look at him. He doesn't look the part.
No.
But he's nifty.
He's got pretty good sneaky quickness, and he's not afraid to put it on the floor. And he knows people are going to close out on hard because of his three-point ability. And he made some plays around the basket. So, but he wasn't the only one. They had a real good balance scoring throughout, and whenever they needed a big bucket, I think Iowa a couple times got up by 7 and had a chance to really put the game away, and they just couldn't. I'd be curious to look back and see how many times they had more than a couple of consecutive stops. It probably wasn't a lot, and that's how you take a game from 7 to 12, and maybe it's over. They just could not get some stops in a row and let Nebraska hang around, and when you do that, you run the risk of getting beat.
And speaking of Fred, we see Fred walking back out in the court with his son Sam. Sam played well also. I mean, he's stepped up with some injuries. 9 points for Sam to go along with 2 boards and 3 of 5 shooting.
Yeah, he hit some big threes.
Yeah.
Yep, he did.
All right, let's appreciate the super chat here from Doug. At least Illinois and Maryland lost, still giving us a chance at a double bye if Northwestern loses. So that is the key here as we move forward the rest of the day. Let's add Ryan to the mix to go to Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Ryan.
Good evening, gentlemen. Coach Close, you look great in black. Good to see you both together at the game. I wanted to get your thoughts. It's very similar to it seems like this is the blueprint we have for losing. Obviously, leaving wide open shots. Our perimeter defense is never great, but today was especially bad. But I guess what is bothering me the most is we just take some really, really bad shots. We're a good enough free throw shooting team where we need to penetrate and drive to the hole, hopefully get a 3-point play. I think Connor had the exact right idea down 4 late. And then Kelly got a little revenge on us. I think that was a pretty brutal call, and Robbie Hummel said as much. But I think we just take some really bad shots. And while I do agree we do have to shoot threes, that is how much of our team is predicated, we still have enough athletes to drive and attack the rim and try to get easier shots and not these panic threes. We had a lot of off-balance threes with 20 seconds to go on the shot clock, and if I could get your take.
Yeah, I think there were certainly some times where that did happen. They rushed a little bit, and I always like to probe the defense a little bit unless you get something wide open and make them play. And then we've talked about the kick-out threes or high percentage threes, and no, I agree. I think a couple of those threes were a little bit questionable, and that's what happens when you let teams hang around. Maybe you panic a little bit or don't get the best shot, and that's the result.
Yeah, I agree, Ryan. I think there were. I mean, normally, and I'm most certainly an advocate for. I'm not an advocate for people who say well, if you're not making threes, just stop shooting them, right? I mean, if Iowa can't make threes, Gary, they're not winning anything.
Right.
So if you're open, take threes. But I did think that Iowa settled. Chris Murray takes a lot of contested threes. He's got length, so he can do that, and he makes some of them.
Mm-hmm.
But when he doesn't make them, it's kind of like the same thing with when Peyton Sandfort takes contested threes. Caitlin Clark gets away with it a lot, but she's Caitlin Clark. So it's this is live and die by the three, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah, they probably did take a few questionable threes. But as we mentioned earlier, their offense was good enough to win the game. I think down the stretch they could have gotten some better shots, but it shouldn't have come down to that. You play better defense, and maybe the game's over, and your offense isn't as panicked and as quick. And I'm sure they'd like to have a couple of those possessions back at both ends of the court.
You guys gonna watch the ladies in a little bit here?
Like to, yep.
Gonna try, yep. We'll do I'll post game afterwards, Ryan.
Sounds good, guys.
See you,
Have a
Ryan.
good night. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it. Yeah, I and I see a lot of frustrated people in the chat. I will say this, for the people out there who are so live and breathe the moment. I just have heard from so many people in the last 15 minutes. Steve says, "Come on, Corey, call it like it is. Fran does not coach defense. He never has." When have we ever sat here, Gary? And I know you're a big fan of Fran McCaffery. And by the way, congratulations to your son today. Big day for him. He was part of the senior day ceremony with Fran and the coaching staff. But we've never claimed that this team has been great defensively. The analytics say they're not a very good defensive team. What we have said is they don't need to be great. They need to be good. And regardless of what Ken Palm and the rankings say for the season, they need to be playing their best basketball on that end right now. And they're not doing that. But they've had stretches. In fact, frankly, as I'm watching this game today, Gary, and thinking back to previous games, does it seem like Iowa plays better D on the road?
That might be. That might be. I think sometimes you get a little comfortable at home and you just think you can outscore people, and you don't grind it out and concentrate. And there might be some truth to that. Whereas on the road, you're kind of us against everybody, and that's kind of where it starts. Because if you don't play defense on the road, you got a chance to be blown out. So there might be some truth to that.
And let's not forget the last game here, which was about 2 weeks ago. Or no, it was a week ago.
Michigan State.
A week ago. Yeah, they give up 101 regulation. And we're not talking about it because they have a miracle comeback where you're down 13, come back with a minute and a half to go. But the defense has not been good at home. So perhaps going away from home, I know that sounds weird because they've struggled offensively away from home. But you're coming off a win at Indiana here, which the offense rolled. The offense was fine today for the most part. Maybe going away from home, heading to Chicago for the Big Ten tournament will help defensively.
Well, that's the way you got to look at it. I mean, what else are you going to do? You drive yourself crazy. I think all of them realized that they fell short on the defensive end today, and they realize they're going to have to improve there to have some long runs in either tournament. If not, they'll be short ones.
Okay, Harpo has an interesting question. I had somebody ask me this during the game, Gary. Your thoughts on this? I think Robbie Hummel commented on it last Saturday. Chris Murray and his jump shot. And, he made a couple threes today. I don't know what his final numbers were, but he's been missing more. He's 2 of 7 in the first half alone. So I can grab the final official stats. I believe he was 3 of 13. I guess this is an unofficial box score. 3 of 13 from 3. Does it seem like he's fading away from the 3-point line at times?
Possibly, yeah. It doesn't look quite as crisp. It looks a little slow being delivered. But he'll get himself out of that. He's too good of a shooter to. And I agree. I think a couple of his shots are tough. They're contested, and so sometimes that factors into it as well. But it wasn't a great shooting night for him, other than a couple of exceptions. So, and quite honestly, we got to have it from him. We just, we're not, we don't have enough to offset a bad shooting night from him most nights, and especially when you're not stopping people at the other end.
John says Iowa seems to struggle most senior nights. Is there a benefit of having the ceremony after the game like the women? I guess I didn't realize the women did that. What has been your experience? Have Wisconsin and certainly at Iowa when you were here, have the ceremonies always been before the game?
Yeah, I've never seen it after the game. I guess that's something to think about.
I don't think you can blame the defense. I don't know how you make that link.
No, it's it's a little bit of a distraction in your normal routine. But everybody goes through it, so you gotta find a way to get through something like that and be ready to go. So, but defensively, they weren't ready to go right from the get-go, and really never established themselves at that end, and they give up 81 points. That's a lot at home.
Why do fans live in the moment so much?
That's the nature of sports, I think. Yep.
I mean, a couple days ago, Gary, everything was great, and people were upset we only were on our show for half an hour on Tuesday, and now there's pitchforks and torches.
Yeah. Well, I think the wins that they've had, you just assume, they're going home, they're playing Nebraska. That's a guaranteed win, and all the benefits of doing that. And the problem is you got to play the game, and they've been playing well. They had one bad half. They had beaten Michigan State. I mean, they had Michigan State down 12 or double digits at half, and then they couldn't guard Michigan State. So this is a team that's been playing really well, and they continue to hear.
Kelly says that Robbie Hummel talked a lot about Chris Murray's jump shot today during his broadcast. So I don't know. That's an interesting one because I from the projections that I've read, and I know you're not an NBA scout, Gary, but this is we assume that maybe his last home game, potentially.
Probably.
He was obviously not honored as a senior today, but he's probably going to be a 3-and-D guy at the next level. Is that a concern if you're a scout right now, watching him struggle, perhaps with his mechanics on his jump shot?
I don't think so. I think he's got enough of a track record that they've been watching him for a long time. I think they realize what they're getting, and there's going to be some development there. He's still pretty young, so I think he's played well enough that one bad shooting night's not going to affect him too much. But this will be a very important Big Ten tournament, NCAA tournament for his standing, because this is when it really counts, and this is when a lot of eyes are on you.
All right, let's go back to our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line. Tony.
Hey, I really think we're going to win by 3 today over Ohio State. We're covering the women's pregame, right?
Yeah, this is the women's pregame.
I was trying to. I'm sorry. Just trying to lighten the mood.
Tony, by the way, you made some predictions earlier in the season that were right on, but you've made some bad ones here late.
Yeah.
I think what did you say? 3 straight wins, and certainly if you were going to drop one, I don't think any of us would have expected this to be the game that you dropped. Of the last 3, this has probably been the last one you'd expect them to drop.
This one you had in your pocket.
But that's the way Iowa's been this year, and you think about the losses, and most of the losses have come against teams from that bottom quarter of the league. So,
who would think that you'd sweep Indiana and then get swept by Nebraska? You'd win a lot of money in Vegas if you had picked that one.
Yeah.
So,
and don't forget losses to swept by Wisconsin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Losses to Penn State on the road, which Penn State's they might be in the tournament now. Won today, they're 10-10. They might have a chance. Anyways, Tony, we're going on a tangent. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. I forgot who it was in the chat. Robbie Hummel pretty much said that Chris, it's not even fading away, it's leaning in. He's like, if Chris isn't vertical, the shot's not going in. Like, he doesn't get squared and stuff like that. Was more how in depth he went. Was like, if Chris Murray gets squared and he gets straight up and down vertical, not forward or backward, the shot's going.
Were you called a shot doctor? People consider you to be a shooting coach.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to you need to challenge Robbie to this. Is Robbie right on that, or is pretty specific criticism?
Hey, proof's in the pudding, and he did not shoot it very well. Robbie was a terrific shooter, so
yeah.
I would. If he feels he's fading a little bit, and he's got a good vantage point from down there, then when you're fading, it's like shooting at a moving basket. You're whether you're going forward or back, the basket's moving. So it's worth taking a look at. But I don't think it's something to last.
Or even left to right, even.
Sure.
Same
that's
type
even
of thing.
worse.
Yeah.
That's even worse.
And I think this is Hummel's 4th game in a row he's had with us on the mic. I think he's literally been with us the last 4 games.
He does a good job.
He does a really good job. He's one of the better ones, I think.
Not as good as Jess.
Oh, he's much better than Jess.
Oh.
He was a much better player, and he's much better than Jess.
Okay. That was an alley-oop for Coach.
I know you mentioned it, and this is kind of a little off topic. Are you going to try to get that Tim guy on from the brackets? The bracket, the Tim, what was his name?
Tim Kruger. I got to do that. So we'll likely have a show here this next week. I don't know if it'll be Tim or maybe Mike DeCourcy has a conversation with him. So we'll see. But yeah, I'd like to do a bracket show here in the next week.
The sky is not falling. It's one game. Yeah.
I think here's what this does bracket wise. And I'm no bracketologist here. I think this eliminates them from a 6 seed conversation. Maybe if they win the tournament, you win 4 straight, maybe. But I think if they wanted any chance at a 6 seed, they're probably going to have to win a few games in the Big Ten tournament and win today. To me, 7 seed is the ceiling.
Yeah, and 6 and 7 is not a big deal. Yeah, you're still going to play a real good team in the second round, and if you get, you got to get there, obviously. But if they go on a roll in the Big Ten tournament, who knows? Because it's the Big Ten is very well respected. So, and depending on who they beat, but they're probably going to beat some good teams if they have to do that. So, there's still some things out there that they can accomplish, and they're in the tournament, and they're in and obviously in the Big Ten tournament. So, there's still some good basketball ahead.
And all of them should be, since where we're going to be at seed wise, should be at least that quad 1 win, because it's top 50 for neutral, since we're playing on a neutral court now. So that does help a little with these big. I'm talking about the postseason games, the Big Ten.
Well, assuming that you don't have some upsets on Wednesday.
Yeah,
right.
And I mean, we like what was it Doug said? There's all we need to do is have Rutgers win, and we still get that double bye. And I think it depends on the Michigan-Indiana game, which right now Indiana's up 9-5 with 5 minutes gone in that one. So if you wanted that score update. But I'll quit rambling on. I just want everyone to keep the faith and stay positive. Just one game. Relax.
It's just one game. It's one game.
It's one game in the
yeah. What are you talking about?
Relax.
Yeah, relax. Yeah. Relax.
All right.
So you later tonight, right?
Yep. I'll be I'm gonna drive to some I'm gonna kind of drive to a halfway place and do a post-game show following the women. So I'll have to listen to the first half online, but I'll be there for a post-game show following.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for everything, guys. I'll talk to you later, Corey.
Appreciate it. All right, folks, we're here about 10 more minutes, so they're going to kick us out of here pretty soon. So a couple things before we conclude. This is a pretty good question. Let me find it here from, let's see. Well, it's actually a comment. Ari Gold says that charge call was horrible. So you had a pretty good vantage point, right? I mean, you were.
No, I was blocked. I didn't see it. I had some players in front of me, but I was surprised. I thought it was a damn one.
You got a body up. You blocked. Who blocked you? You got a body up.
Well, on the court, the players on the court, I can't move them. I didn't see it, but I thought it was going to be an N1.
I did too.
I thought, oh yeah, here we go. But so I was surprised by the call. But you can look at something like that, but the problem is it disguises what really was it shouldn't come down to that. I mean, you can't let it come down to that, or you run the risk of a bang call going the wrong way, and you can't live like that and be a good team. So, they've had some calls like that have gone their way, and it's something not. But you want to be in a position where it doesn't even matter, and unfortunately, they weren't in that case.
This was a veteran crew today too. You had DJ Carstensen, Larry Scarrato, and Kelly Pfeiffer. I had somebody sitting next to me saying something about. No surprise that Kelly's the one that made that call, given what happened a week ago. I doubt that Kelly, we don't know what's happening in the subconscious, but I doubt he made that call with thought to the stare down from a week ago.
We'll never know, will we? But if it was, he got him pretty good.
Now, they did review this, but as my understanding is they were reviewing whether he was over the cylinder or over the
you can't change
restricted area.
Call. No, if he's in the restricted area, then maybe they could have changed it. But he was well outside of that.
Your thoughts on the review process? Why are we able to review the restricted area, but you can't review if a guy was in motion or not? Does that make sense to you?
In motion meaning charge or block?
Right. If his heel would have been above the line or on the line, then they would have overturned the call.
Mm-hmm.
But it looked, according to the monitors that we looked at, it looked like he was moving, which means it was the wrong call anyways. But you can't review that aspect of the play.
No, you can't do that because it's a judgment call that kind of get crazy if you did that. You can only review the technical part of it.
Yeah. What did you think of the officiating as a whole today?
I thought it was all right. I didn't think anything really jumped out. I mean, maybe a few calls, but the problem is that's just looking for excuses. I mean, we had things that we could control that could have made the outcome different, and we didn't. So to blame it on the officials is not going to make you any better on the defensive end. And the bottom line is they didn't play well enough to win.
Ben says, Coach Close, what do you think of Iowa's clock management at the end of the game? Seems like no play is set up, no urgency when it's a two-possession game. That's, I think, fair. It seemed like there wasn't a sense of urgency, especially there with under 30 seconds.
Yeah, and then I thought they took a couple of shots that weren't real good. Their execution at the end of the Michigan State game was impeccable. I mean, it was a clinic on how you work the clock and put yourself in position to win. And tonight, probably not as well, obviously. But again, you keep harping back to it. You don't even want to be in that position, especially on your home court with as much at stake as there was. So this one's going to sting a little bit because they had already beaten them once. And to get swept and lose your last game on your own court, that hurts. I don't think that.
Metallicus, I don't know if this is I hope it's not a serious question, because obviously they haven't been in the Sweet 16 since 1999.
Hey, I was there.
You were there, right?
Yeah, I was there.
Jess Settles was there, too.
Jess Settles was there.
But have you seen any correlation? You've been to a lot. We talk about what you did at Wisconsin, a couple Final Fours, but have you seen a correlation over your time coaching with how you play the very last game of the regular season and what happens once you get to postseason play?
No.
Nothing directly.
Our first Final Four trip, I think we lost. I don't think we lost the first game, but I think we lost the second game of the Big Ten tournament and went on to get to the Final Four. So I mean, you like to be playing better, but in some cases, a quick loss, go back, recover, and get ready to roll. So no, I don't. I think it's a total correlation. You like to be playing well, but no, Iowa could turn right around and run right through the Big Ten tournament and win it if they play better. If they don't, then they won't.
I know I'm jumping around a bit, but what did you think of the crowd? It was sold out venue. The arena was not totally full. You had some seats open in the end zones, but I'm guessing that the attendance was hurt a bit by the Big Ten championship up in Minneapolis. The women who are about to start in about 10 minutes, so we'll be off the air by then. But your thought on the crowd? I thought it was a good crowd.
I did too.
Expect that when it's sold out.
Yeah. I think senior. Last game of the year, you're playing Nebraska, not a high quality team. This game was sold out, in advance, and that's a tribute to the fans, and I think a tribute to the team and the way they've battled. When they were 0-3, I think if we'd have said it when they were 0-3 that we'll go 11-9 and be in the tournament, we probably would have taken it in a heartbeat. So there's been a lot of positives, and this is not one of them. But you got to have some balance, and all in all, a good year, and they got a chance to make it a great year if they can play well in the postseason, which is what it comes down to every year. Anyway.
We try to answer all the questions, and we've addressed this so many times. So Gary, you try to address it as well as you can. Scott wants to know, why is Iowa's defense always near the bottom of the Big Ten?
That's a good question. It's getting stops and being committed to disciplined and committed at the defensive end, and they have too many breakdowns to get consistency. They show flashes, but not at a consistent level that requires to. When you're a high-scoring team with a lot of possessions, you're going to give up more points.
Right.
That's just the way it is. But,
yep.
Then you look at the shooting percentages and things like that, and that's where it jumps out at you. So, to advance in the tournament, obviously you got to put the ball in the basket, but you also got to keep it from going in at your end, and they got to get a little more consistent to make a run.
Got about 3 minutes left here, folks. We got a couple questions in the chat, and I don't see anybody in our Iowa Smokehouse call-in line, but Ben wants to know, he says, serious question, nothing negative intended with it. Does Chris Murray get talked about as a sure NBA pick this year if his brother hadn't paved the way? Night and day difference in them, in my mind. I'll give my opinion, and Gary, you can go. I think the answer is yeah. I think Keegan doing what he's doing as a rookie helps. But let's not forget, Chris was projected as a first-round draft pick last season.
Right.
This year. Now I understand you're expecting development, and he has developed. I don't think he's a lottery pick, but I do think he's a first-rounder.
I think he's a first rounder too. Yeah, and some of it's youth and potential, and no, I agree. Yeah, they see what Keegan's done and how well he's played, and that's. But they do that in a lot of cases with with different prospects in terms of looking at history and it's not a guarantee, but no, I think it's helped. But he's also done it himself in terms of how he's played this year. And, he's had some terrific games, and he could very well have a big March and see his stock climb. So that's obviously, as Hawk fans, that's what we want to see, and he's certainly capable of doing that. So I don't think there's anybody more disappointed in how he played today than he is, and I would expect that he'll bounce back strong.
And although you want to win 3 straight games heading into postseason play, again, last year Iowa wins 4 straight to win the Big Ten tournament and then bows out against Richmond. So, I hear every day people telling me it's all about March, it's all about the tournament. This is not the tournament today.
No. And in the whole grand scheme of things, it's it's a tough loss, but it's not going to prevent them from doing some things in March that they want to. Maybe makes it a little bit more difficult, but not enough to to really worry about. They just got to play better.
But you made a good point earlier. I don't think there's a huge gap between the teams that will be on the 2 seed line, and the teams that are on the 3 seed line. And I think that's consistent with the women and the men this year. You've got a couple of really good teams at the top, and then I think maybe a gap where you could rank maybe 3 through 10, a lot of different ways.
Well, I think it's the case in both the Big Ten tournament and in the national tournament. There's nobody out there you go, whoa, I'm scared to death of them. There's a lot of parity. So, a team that's going to advance is going to get hot and make some plays. I can, even in the Big Ten, everybody's all bunched together with the exception of Purdue. And Purdue's not playing great right now. They barely survived at Wisconsin, and they won today at home. But they're not, I think Coach Painter would tell you right away. He's hoping they're going to play better. And what you'll find, we got the big term to go through, is when you go into the NCAA tournament where you're not going against teams that know everything about you and, that are well scouted, then you got a chance to, to play. It's kind of a breath of fresh air. Now, you still got to play well.
Right.
But first we got to get through the grind of the Big Ten tournament, which is going to be fun. I mean, there's literally 12, 13 teams that go win the thing. I mean, it's crazy. Ohio State's playing better. It wouldn't shock me if Ohio State gets an upset on.
Wouldn't shock me if Nebraska makes it.
No. I mean, it's probably not, but it's not. It's the league is just so tight that it's going to make for a really, really fun Big Ten tournament.
We'll go quick fire on these last few questions. Casey says, "What seed will Iowa get in the Big Ten tournament?" I don't have the standings in front of me, the tiebreak scenarios, but I think the bottom line is they get a double bye if Rutgers wins.
And Rutgers playing at home, so you'd like to think that they got it.
Rutgers wins, right? Yeah, that's what they needed. Rutgers needs to win, beat Northwestern.
Yeah, at home. So you think they got a decent chance of doing that.
Shane says, "Do you think the double bye really has any advantage for Iowa at this point? Winning the Big Ten tournament really won't do much, but tire them out before they probably play in the first round of the NCAA on Thursday." I mean, again, last year you win 4 straight. I don't think fatigue was the reason they lost, but if you bow out in the first couple of days, it does give you more time to rest, but less momentum.
Yeah, and we experienced it last year. You have the opportunity to win 3 championships when you come into a season, not counting a in-season tournament championship. The Big Ten regular season, the Big Ten tournament, the NCAA, and you want to win all of them. And so this is the next one. They fell short in winning the league championship, and we remember from last year that was pretty cool. And
this team knows they can win.
They've done it before,
that tournament.
and it's wide open. I think it's more wide open than it's ever been. So they're gonna have to play better, but they got as good a shot as anybody if they play well. If they don't, then then they'll be getting ready for the NCAA tournament.
And they've shot the 3 ball well in each of the last 3 games.
Yeah.
On the road and at home.
Well, and Patrick played better. That's
he did.
That's a positive because that just gives him another weapon. So that's something to be thankful about. But then this is a time where you have to play well to advance. You don't luck into advancing, and so but that's okay. That's what you want as you play in these types of tournaments. So, they got as good a chance as anybody. I don't see anybody in the Big Ten right now. You go, whoa, the way they're playing, that I'd be scared of, literally, from first all the way down to 14. So,
Right.
they got as good a chance as anybody if they play well.
Scott says Iowa hasn't had a McDonald's All-American on the roster in over 20 years. Is there a correlation there with lack of Sweet 16 appearances and lack of high-end, top-end recruits?
Oh, we went to the Final Four 2 years in a row without a McDonald's All-American. So no, I don't.
You might be the wrong one to ask that question. Shane says, Coach, do you think Iowa would be better off going into the tournament by not playing 3-4 games in a row to recharge and reset? I think we kind of answered that question.
No, I think you want to go win the thing. I think it's
I agree.
It's a great thing to win, especially this year with the depth in the league. So no, I think they lost last year to Richmond because they didn't play well, not because of winning the Big Ten championship. I don't think, but they're gonna have to play well to keep advancing, and that's the way it should be when you get into March.
Last two questions. Tragus says, why is Chris no longer going to his inside game? It does seem like he's settled a lot more. Maybe it's because he's coming off a hot night against Indiana, but your thoughts on why he's not attacking the rim as much?
Yeah, I thought he attacked it a little bit today. I don't think that was real Evan, a little bit. I think he's more comfortable shooting the three. I think he needs to work on his attacking part of his game. He's a little upright. But that'll come with work. But no, I don't know how many free throws he ended up shooting. But I thought he attacked a little bit. Maybe a couple times he settled a little bit and took a quick three. But how many shots did he take from the field?
22.
So he had 9 twos and
13 3-pointers.
So maybe a little bit. And he went
3 of 5.
He's got to finish better, and he's got to
shoot free throws better.
He's got to shoot free throws better. So we saw some glimpses of it, for sure.
And final question from John says, Phillip was barely in the paint the last 10 minutes or so. Is that by design?
I don't think so. I think that maybe they'll look at that and go that might be a mistake. Now Walker's a pretty tough guy to score. He's strong and he's got pretty good length, and so no, I don't think that was by design, but. It definitely happened a little bit.
All right, folks, quickly recapping this. Nebraska knocking off Iowa in Carver on senior day, 81-77. Balanced attack from the Cornhuskers, really balanced attack. I mean, they had a lot of guys in double figures and 3 guys with 9. So a lot of guys contributing to this. Iowa with Chris Murray with 22 points, but 3 of 13 from 3, 8 of 12 from the field overall, and 3 of 5 from the free throw line. 7 boards for Chris as well to go along with 4 assists, 2 steals. Phillip Bracha with 10 points on senior day, 5 of 14 from the field. Boy, he missed 2 big free throws there down the stretch. You feel bad for him.
He almost made it could have been an and one. That was a big play. Yeah,
you're right. That was the 2 free throw misses, right?
Yeah. It could have been 3 points, ended up being 0.
Patrick comes off the bench, 23 points, 7 of 14 shooting. Peyton Sanford, 8 points, but 2 of 9 from 3. Tough night for him. Aaron Eulis didn't give you anything offensively. I mean, really nothing. 0 assists, 0 points for Aaron Eulis.
Didn't play a lot.
And I'm surprised a little bit by that because I thought maybe Fran would put him on Tominaga to follow him around early. They didn't do that. He guarded him a little bit, but I thought Eulis, the way he guarded Tyson Walker earlier in the year, I thought he proved himself against maybe the best guard in the Big Ten. A little bit surprised they didn't have him follow Tominaga. But regardless, Iowa finishes the regular season at 19-12. And we move now to the Big Ten tournament. We'll see what happens with Rutgers Northwestern. If you're an Iowa fan, you want a double bye and not have to play until Friday. You're rooting for Rutgers against Northwestern.
Oh, Scarlet Knights.
Yeah. Any final thoughts, Gary, before we head out here? Disappointing way to end the regular season.
Yeah, it's a discouraging day because senior day is a big day, and you want to give the fans, you appreciate them coming out here and selling the place out, and you got a chance to lock up a double bye. It's a tough loss. There's no doubt about it, but you're going to have to put it in the rearview mirror quickly and learn by it and then get ready to go either Thursday or Friday. And there's a lot of exciting things coming ahead if they can play well, and that's what March is all about. So hopefully that'll be the case.
Absolutely. I want to thank Brad Van Meter again, as always. He's been sponsoring the show all regular season long, and this is our final regular season. So a special thank you to Brad and his team down at State Farm. Give him a call at 515-256-6480 or online at bradvanmeter.com. Visit him in person on Fleur Drive down in Des Moines, 4229 Fleur Drive. Again, the number to get a free quote on insurance coverage, 515-256-6480. And Iowa Smokehouse, get prepped for some March Madness hoops. Use that code Hawkeye at iowasmokehouse.com. Tasting is believing. You'll get 15% off with that code Hawkeye, and you'll get free shipping on a $50 order. Again, Iowa Smokehouse down in Albia. Coach, appreciate the time as always, and we will look forward to whoever Iowa plays in the Big Ten tournament. It's going to be a fun tournament. It's been a fun women's tournament.
There's nothing like it.
Let's hope the women can close things out. I know they're
Absolutely.
just about ready to go underway on ESPN.
Yeah, that'll be a nice accomplishment for them and set them up for a long tournament run, hopefully.
All right, folks. Coach and I will be back for Big Ten tournament coverage. I will be back later on this evening recapping the Iowa women. Take care.